Hey guys, happy June, happy summer, happy Pride Month. I hope everyone is starting off their summer and having an awesome time. And thank you so much for picking up this craft kit. This is for the Rainbow Cross Stitch Craft. I did want to let you know I was learning how to cross stitch when I put this craft together, so it is a little more challenging than I thought it was going to be. But definitely manageable, and I think it'll still be fun. But I do want to let you know that if you're feeling frustrated or if it's too challenging or you need a break, don't hesitate to take a break and pick it back up later. Or if you find that you are not loving it, that's okay too. At least then you know, and it's something you can say you've tried. So this is what this is just a picture of it because I didn't finish mine yet. So this is what the finished product will look like. And yeah, I'm going to show you what's in the kit, give you some ideas of what you need from home. There's just a few things that'll make things easier. And then I will get into showing you some of the steps and how to do some things. Okay, so we'll get right back to you. Okay, so here is your kit. It includes just about everything you need to complete this cross stitch project. It has, this is 14 count Aida cloth, and that's so you can easily see like where you're stitching. You can see the little holes through there. You know that it's easy to see where your needle goes. It's an embroidery hoop. Here are all the colors you'll need. I'm going to use a lot of white. Oopsie. This is an embroidery needle. It's not super sharp. It's a little bit thicker so that you can get it through the cloth easier, but it had a little poke, which was why I put it on the ball, and that way it doesn't get lost so easily. And then this is thread conditioner. It's to help make the embroidery floss go through a little bit smoothly. And but if you didn't want to use this, you can also, a lot of people just like lick the end of the thread to make it a little easier to go through the eye of the needle. Also, there was like a little note and some resources on how to do some things. I gave you two versions of the pattern. So there is one that has symbols and then one that's just the colored blocks. I didn't know it would be easier to read, so whatever works for you. And then there's also some information about the pattern. I'm actually going to zoom in on that so I can explain to you. So the legend are the different colors. Each color, each little thing of thread, like there's 892, this is 892. So it might be obvious what color to use, but that's just to make it a little bit easier for you. And then the symbols correspond to the pattern that have the symbols with the color. So you're going to stitch 892 carnation all in this area. And then 741 tangerine all in this area, and that corresponds with that. And then this like brackets with the 2 in the middle, that's saying you use 2 pieces of the embroidery floss. So embroidery floss is comprised of 6 strings, and you're only going to use 2 when you're making your cross stitch, like 2 at a time. And I'm actually going to show you something else. So a starting method is called a loop start, and with that you only use 1 piece, but it's folded, so it's doubled. But I will get back into that with you. Okay, And then for reading your pattern, and so these arrows show you where the middle is of each part of the pattern. And for me, I gridded my pattern. So you're gonna need there are a few there are a few optional materials that you'll need, or like from home. The scissors are not optional. You do need scissors from home because you'll need to cut your thread. And then I gridded my pattern to make it easier for me to find the middle, first of all. And then I also did dots every 10 spots, so it was easier for me to count. So for that, I used a ruler, and you can either use a pen or a like really skinny ultrafine point Sharpie. And so when I did that, I'll show you the one I already did. I just put my ruler, made sure it was all along the right line, and then used my pen or Sharpie to go there, down, and then I did it the same for the midpoints horizontally. And so this is my midpoint, and then every 10 stitches is a mark, so that way I could count a little bit easier. And I still used the ruler for that most of the time just to make sure I was keeping even. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is how to find the center of your cloth, so that way you know where the center of your pattern should go. From what I've read, it's recommended that you start from the center of the pattern. We are going to fold this in fourth, so the edges are taped because this fabric frays really easily, so that way it's not fraying as you're working. Okay, so we are going to fold this into fourths to find the midpoint of our fabric, so that way we know where the midpoint of our pattern will be. Okay, so you're going to fold it in half, crease it, and then once you're done, you're not going to want this to be creased like when you go to display it. So you'll be able to take it out of the embroidery hoop and use an iron on the back to lightly get rid of this crease. So there's our first crease, and that's showing our halfway mark vertically. And then I am just doing this up to, if you have this end without tape, but that's like a rough end, I am just going to take the tape up to here because that rough end doesn't really count as fabric in my opinion. Like, that's not part of the grid. But like underneath the tape is just raw without this part, so that's why it's taped. All right, so there's our creases, and then that is where those creases meet is our midpoint. Okay, and so what I did, I have like a sharp pencil. I made a pencil mark where they meet and kind of just made like a little cross. And you want to make sure that your midpoint is one of the, like the part where it's a more dotted line. Let me see if I can zoom. So where there's like more of a dotted line, that's kind of like in between where your crosses are going to go. So that's where you want to be making your line. Let me do that right. Okay, and then same here. And this is just so it's easy for me like to visually see. And this will be the back of your pattern, and that's where you're going to be like kind of working from anyways. You do also have to think though that when you're doing your pattern, it's going to be reversed then. So if you are trying to do like this side first, then you have to think that you're going to be going this way. because like this quadrant is this quadrant since it's going to be reversed. All right, so now we found the center of our fabric. I am going to show you how to put the fabric in the embroidery hoop. So here's your hoop. I've always seen and used this part as the top of it. So you're going to loosen this, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And remove the smaller hoop from the larger hoop. And the front side is going to go kind of like through the hoop. So you want your back side like this, and then you want to kind of center where your center of your fabric is, center that in the hoop the best that you can. And like I said, like if you have this kind of pretend that that's not there, because that is not really going to count as fabric, so you don't want to include that in your centering really. I think that's about right. Okay, and left and right. I think that's about right. So then you're going to put the smaller hoop back and kind of squish it into the bigger hoop. Okay. And then you want to make sure the fabric is taut in here because it's going to make it a lot easier to do your stitches and to make sure they're going in the right spot. But you also don't want to stretch it because it'll kind of disfigure your fabric. Okay, and then once you have it in there pretty tight, feeling like you should feel a little resistance. It shouldn't be like rippled or anything. You will tighten this again. So that way it all stays in place. There we go. All right, so now your fabric is in your hoop and we're kind of ready to get started. I'm gonna gather my materials and then I'll get right back to you. All right, so we're gonna start with white. So like I said, they recommend that you start with the center of the pattern. So we're gonna start that way. So here's our center. So we're gonna do, and I have been going this way or with that part. So like I said before, it's gonna be kind of backwards looking. So if you're doing this quadrant, you're gonna be going to your right, or vice versa. If you want to start with your left, then you're going to be starting with this quadrant. Okay, so we'll start with our white, and we need, this is why I gridded this off, so I know how many stitches I'm going to need. So from here to here, that's 10, 20, and then there's 1, 2, 3. So in this first line, there's 23 white stitches. Okay, and then I had said earlier that there was that little 2 in brackets. That means you're going to use 2 pieces of your floss. I am doing a loop start method, so we're actually only going to use 1 piece of the floss. So like I had said, this breaks up into like 6 little pieces. We're just going to use 1. But you also need to know that that's going to make like your length of your thread go in half. So if you were to decide to start in a different way, you might want to cut your thread. Even this way, we might want to cut our thread, but don't cut it too short. They recommend that you work with like 12 to 18 inches of fabric or of floss. So I am going to, I guess I can use my ruler. Here's my ruler. If I'm doing 12 to 18 doubled inches, it'll end up being 36. So I just folded it in half, and then there's 12. I'm going to do 24. So I think that'll be manageable. Okay, so since I'm doing that loop start, I'm actually only going to use 1/6 of those pieces because I'm going to be doubling it. And they recommend that you do like 12 to 18 inch pieces so that your floss doesn't get tangled as you're stitching. So I need to double that as well. So if I do 18, I'm gonna need 36 inches. So I'll need 3 rulers worth. So 12, 24, and 36. So if I cut that here, it'll be 18 inches that I'm working with. Okay, and then I am going to show you the loop start. So I need to have this, fold it, have the ends meet. Okay, and then you're going to thread both of these ends through the eye of your needle. So if you're having trouble getting it through, you can use that thread conditioner to kind of make it a little smoother, or you can lick the ends. This is your project, so if that's something you're comfortable with, that's absolutely fine. Okay, and that went through no problem, which usually I have more trouble than that, but I am going to take that as a win for today. Okay, so to get this loop start going, you are just going to pull a little bit of those ends through, and then you're going to start at the center mark, and depending on which way you want to go, I was going to start with this side, which is 23, so that means I'm going to go to my left because it's backwards. So I'm starting in the center hole, and I'm going to pull that through. Oops, did not pull the string through enough. I almost lost it. Okay, and I caught it. Okay, here we go. So through that center hole, I'm going to pull it all the way through. And then I am going to go on a diagonal, and then through that upper corner and pull that through. Okay, so you'll see there is my first diagonal. And then for the loop start, you're going to flip it back over, and then you're going to pull it through your loop. And with this, that way you won't be able to pull anything all the way through, and you already have one end finished. And I just thought that was easier for me. Okay, and you don't want to pull it too tight though, because otherwise it kind of cinches up in the front. Okay, and then as I learned to do this, I thought you made each X one at a time, and I learned that you actually make like one half of the X at a time, and then you go back and do the others. So on the back, so we have our first leg of our X, or our first cross stitch, and then in the back you're going to go down, so back down to the center horizontal line, but you're going to go vertically and then pull it through. Okay. We're through, and then make our diagonal to the right, and then that is our first leg of our second. Oopsie, I lost it. I got stuck, guys. So that happens, and you just get your thread back through the eye of your needle and keep on moving. I totally just licked my thread. It's mine. It's okay. Okay. We don't need that much slack, or you can, and your stuff doesn't fall through as fast. Okay, so let's get back on that first leg of our second X. Okay, and we're through. Right, so then I have two diagonals in the back. So the top, you're going to go back down, and so the back is just going to look like all vertical lines. Pull that back through the front. Another stitch, another half of your cross, pull it through. Back through. Okay, so you can see here, like I've done 3 halves of my stitches. That was my loop start, and then another 2. And you can see up front, we have 3 like half stitches, and we're about to go back in through for our 4th. All right, so I am going to finish or go back through this half of the line, and then I will show you how to go and make these into full cross stitches. All right, so here are my 23 half crosses, and we are going to go back and make those into 23 full cross stitches. Okay, and then you'll also see on the back that, where are we? Not focused. So those are all just like vertical lines, because that's how we go through. And I know, like a more seasoned cross stitcher, they'll be very smooth and perfect, and sometimes they're not, and we're new, and that's okay. Or maybe you're not new and yours are perfect, and that's okay too. So anyways, we are going to go and make these into full stitches for the front. So we are going to go back down 1 more vertically, just like we would if we were going to go to make another half stitch. Okay, so we are through there. Let's zoom out a little bit. And instead of going to our right like we would have, we are going to go to our left, diagonal left. So I'm going to go through there, push it in, and there's our first cross. Okay, and then so we're just pretty much going backwards. So we're going to flip it over, go back down vertically, right spot. So you're going to be going over lines that you've already made. Okay, and pull it through. Okay, and then, oops, I went the wrong way. I think I went the wrong way. Oh, I crossed it and back. That's what I did. Okay, so sometimes you make a mistake and you just have to put your needle back through the hole you just came. So here I go. Pull it back. Right. So there we go. So we are not going diagonal on the back. We are going straight on the back. I don't know what I was doing. So here we go. Back through. All right, and then we are going to go diagonally again, back this way. And that is our second cross. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that until I get back to our center point, and then I will show you how to bury the thread so that you don't lose your work. Okay, so now we have our first row, well, half a row. So this corresponds with this line of white right here. Here we go. So in this quadrant right here. So it's 23, so it's cross stitches. And there's our 23 cross stitches. We have enough thread where we could still continue to go across or to go down or up. But I'm going to show you how to bury the thread. So if you didn't have enough thread to keep going and still have a little bit of slack, you would barrier thread, and that kind of completes this row, so nothing will come undone. So we are burying the thread. So you are going with your needle underneath those vertical strings, and you want to get through like 3 or 4. Make sure you don't go through the fabric, and then you'll just pull it through, and then that way nothing's going anywhere. It's in there tight. The front is how it's supposed to be. Okay. All right. So that is that. And then you can, like, then you would cut this excess. So you could probably unbury your thread. I haven't tried that yet. And then keep going if you wanted to. We went over how to kind of read your pattern, how to find the center of your fabric, grid your pattern, get your fabric into the embroidery hoop, how to do the loop start, and how to bury a thread. Those are pretty much the basics. And I guess just keep working. Let me know if you have any questions. You can email me at Jackie, it's JACQUEI at GEPL.org. So if you have any questions, if you want to send me a picture of your completed project, I would love your feedback. So I can't wait to see how everything turns out. I will see if I can share with you how mine turns out once I finish mine, because I still have a lot of work to do too. And yeah, just remember, like, this is supposed to be fun. So if you don't love it, or if you're getting frustrated, it's okay. If you need to take a break and come back to it, or decide that you don't want to come back to it. Okay? Have a great summer, and I can't wait to see you in the library. Bye.